All right, we'll get started. I'll take this opportunity to call to order the Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting scheduled for today, February 12th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. Can I have the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Governor Joe Lombardo.
Present.
Lieutenant Governor Stravos Anthony.
Here.
Controller Andy Matthews.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Frank Lepre. Member Justin Kalb.
Here.
Member Gary Prea.
Here.
Member Frank, I see you there.
Here.
Governor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Move on to public comments, section 2. The first opportunity for public comment is limited to comments on the items on the agenda. No action may be taken upon a matter raised under public comment period unless the matter itself has been specifically included on an agenda as an action item. I will impose a 3-minute time limit. Do we have any public comment there in Carson City?
No, sir, we don't have.
Do we have any here in Las Vegas? Are you going up to do public comment, Justin?
No, I'm grabbing.
All right, we have no public comment here in Las Vegas. We will close the first opportunity for public comment and move on to consideration of appointment of Deputy Director Sajid. Is Sajid up there?
I'm here, sir.
Say your last name publicly.
Sularia.
Sajid Solaria. I didn't want to mess that up. As Secretary to the Transportation Board of Directors pursuant to NRS 408121 for possible action. Are you going to make comment on this, Director?
He would just be the replacement of Jeff LaRue, who retired in December.
Correct.
So his main duties are roll call and to sign off on the minutes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move to approve Deputy Director Solaria as Secretary to the Transportation Board of Directors.
Good motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against? Nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Welcome aboard, Sajid.
Thank you, sir.
I know you've been here for a while, but now it's formal. And you'll get your raise.
Don't promise him anything I can't keep.
Oh, okay. I'll relax on that. Maybe you're not getting a raise. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 4, receive director's report. It's an informational only item. Ms. Larkin.
All right, thank you. First slide, please. I wanted to start off just by kind of recapping last year's traffic fatalities. Some good news is we saw a 7% drop in overall fatal crashes statewide. Speed and impairment remained the largest contributing factors. Unrestrained fatal crashes were down 23%. Motorcycle, bicycle, and light vehicle like scooters were down by more than 20%. However, the pedestrian fatal crashes increased by more than 16%, primarily in the urbanized areas. Clark County was from 71 to 82, about 16%, and Washoe from 13 to 18%, almost 39%. So while safety is always a consideration, we are particularly targeting vulnerable road users and intersection safety and in the next year and upcoming projects. We do have an active and engaged advisory committee on traffic safety, which brings together NDOT, Department of Public Safety, DMV, and other state and local agencies to actually kind of look for the trouble areas and start targeting more fine tuning.
You have the highest cause is excessive speed?
Speed and impairment.
Impairment.
And impairment can be anything from like a DUI but also just distracted driving, like cell phones.
All right. That surprises me because nationwide it's been up significantly, fatal accidents.
So, like I said, we're trending in the right direction in one area, but with pedestrian, we're definitely trending in the wrong direction.
All right.
Next slide. Looking at the Tropicana, so this is what everybody in downtown Las Vegas saw yesterday. This is a Super Bowl configuration, and this will stay in place through Valentine's Day, which is Wednesday. Not really much more to say about that now since it's changing fast, but next slide.
Ryan, you have anything to say about that?
No, just that we had 3 lanes open in each direction to facilitate movement of people to and from the big game. And it was actually, this has been in place since February 1st. So that was an effort that we made at a construction level to help the businesses and people in preparation for the big game.
And then is there a full closure
Yes,
imminent?
that's
Oops. Give me one more slide.
Or
This one, and we said the winner is, well, regardless of who the winner is, our win is that NDOT success was that the Tropicana project was not the focus of any news story, and we will take the little win. So we're celebrating that.
Well done.
that is good.
Next slide. We also want to point out the new Harmon Avenue half interchange that opened on January 26th. This provides additional access to both northbound and southbound I-15, and that'll be both to eastbound and westbound Harmon. It is open. It'll be open during the full duration of the I-15 Tropicana project, and it provides another access to and from the Las Vegas Strip. And this is a critical step, getting this open before starting phase 3 of the I-15 Tropicana project. And now the next slide will show what's coming up. Basically, starting on Wednesday, we're going to start dismantling the existing traffic control, and then we will have Tropicana 2.0. So starting from February 16th at 9 p.m. to Monday, February 19th at 5 a.m., I-15 will be closed between Russell Road and Flamingo Road, and Tropicana Avenue will be closed over I-15 between New York, and D. Martin. And this is to facilitate the demolition of the southern structure across there. So it's a marathon weekend. We're trying to reduce as much as possible the length of time we're impacting both I-15 and Tropicana. But this also marks the phase of kicking off phase 3 of the I-15 Tropicana project. We have done extensive stakeholder outreach and planning with the media, and we're also working with Caltrans, Utah DOT, and Arizona DOT to amplify our message and catch drivers before they come down the night before the I-15, particularly for freight traffic. And more information can be found at www.i15trop.com. We also have an app that you can download that's specific to the I-15. Similar to what we did for the first one.
You say stakeholders meetings. Is that all the businesses in the surrounding area there? The reason why I'm saying that is because of the issue associated with F1. So do they have a vision of what the calendar looks like, 12 months out or whatever it is, how their businesses are going to be affected?
Actually, can you answer that one more?
Yes, I will. Ryan Wheeler, Senior Project Manager for NDOT. The answer is yes, Governor. We've outreached to all the businesses. We have a stakeholder list of over 1,300 businesses in the area, and we've been letting them know this calendar as far as 3 to 4 weeks back. So they've been able to plan in advance for this closure.
Thanks.
It is a significant impact, but like I said, we're trying to shorten the length of time. However, as we look at the long-term part, this is the phase 3, and this takes us into the fall of 2024. As we mentioned before, the new Harmon half interchange is open, but Tropicana will return to the pre-Super Bowl configuration of the temporary diverging diamond interchange. And as you can see, the ramps will be closed 24/7, and then you can see the other closures there on the screen. But southbound I-15 flyover to eastbound Tropicana, Tropicana Avenue to southbound I-15, northbound I-15 access to Arena Drive, and the northbound I-15 off-ramp to Tropicana Avenue. And nothing will give us greater pleasure than we have the ribbon cutting on this. Any other questions?
No.
Director, to the governor's question, I think there are a lot of opportunities and for people to see what's going on in this corridor. And for people maybe who are watching who are not aware, I don't know if you want to mention the phone calls that you have. I think the whole 1,500 email list people are on there, but I know there are a number of calls that go on, and I think there's also information online. And is there an app? I can't remember if there was an app on this. Not,
Yes.
there definitely are. I think it would be good if you just, because I think this is such an important point about the outreach that's been done on Drop Canada. I think it would probably be good for us to just mention those publicly.
Yeah, there's up, so the www.i15trop.com. And then also there's a dedicated I-15 Trop app that they can download. Thank you. Any other questions on the Tropicana?
It's free if you download it.
Okay,
If you're open to a lot of.
Ryan's going to add just a couple more comments.
Yeah, this is Ryan Wheeler again, Senior Project Manager for NDOT. In working with our public outreach team, we also have already had media events with the media about this upcoming closure, so they're aware of it. We also have a planned media event Friday morning, so that Friday morning's news can have some sound bites about the upcoming closure. We already have that in place. We're going to be doing that Friday morning at the project site for Friday morning traffic, so that people in the valley will know of the upcoming calendar.
That's great. You can't over communicate enough. So,
Any other questions on Tropicana? All right, we'll move on to the next one. So now we're going to move into Northeast Nevada. So basically the Elko Amtrak station and the Elko Depot has received a grant through NDOT. So we were awarded more than $28 million in funding from this is a long one, Nationally Significant Multimodal Freight and Highway Projects Program and the Rural Surface Transportation Grant Program for Rural Funds to complete environmental clearances, design, and construction of corridor-based improvements on the Union Pacific Railroad in the Elko Amtrak Station and the Elko Yard in rural Nevada. What that really means is, to shorten it, is the improvements to Amtrak stations, because right now they're on two separate sides of the track. It will connect them. It will also produce some existing rail line so that the UP can actually move their freight, the freight traffic, the UP rail can move more offline and allow the passenger rail, Amtrak and BNSF, to move more efficiently. And for anyone who travels along rail in northern Nevada, particularly passenger rail, it is very unreliable as far as a timetable. They could literally be supposed to be at the rail station at 5 a.m. in Winnemucca, and you might be picked up at 10 a.m. So this will improve by providing extra rail sidings, basically, where the freight rail can come off and the passenger rail can go through. So this is not, while we are partners with this is not an NDOT project, so there's no highway funding going towards it. But it is a significant impact. And that along, obviously, we're going to hear more about Brightline here soon, but these kind of little successes are really kind of just really initiating and facilitating conversation about rail in general. So Salt Lake City, Utah DOT has been talking with us. They definitely want to restore some service from Salt Lake City to Vegas. They're also looking for service up to Idaho. So there's a lot of more discussion going on. So exciting stuff.
what's the build out on that? How long?
The build out, it's a couple of years. I don't know the time there. Yeah, they still have the environmental clearances to go through.
Oh,
And if you think working with the state can be slow, working with the railroad lines makes us look like we're superheroes. Okay, next slide. The US 395 North Valleys. This is taking 395 out of Reno, headed towards California. At the end of January, we started major earthwork operations. 395 is now reduced to 2 lanes from Adi Boulevard to the Golden Valley Road. The lane reductions are needed for safety while we construct the retaining walls and resurface and widen the highway. The northbound McCarran on-ramp to northbound 395 is also closed with nearby highway access at Clearacre. The ramp and the northbound lane closures will be in place through 2025, so this is long-term traffic control. And then ultimately, the multi-year project will widen and repave approximately 4 miles of US 395 between North McCarran and Golden Valley. And there is a project website also for this, hotline and text alerts. And those are shown on the screen, the text North Valleys with the phone number. And the project hotline also has a phone number. And we also have a 395northvalleys.com for project information and updates. So we try to do a project website for each of our major projects.
Are we doing this? Well, I don't know what the business environment is there on North McCarran. For that ramp to be closed for
It's
2
going
years or a year.
a year and a half, basically a year and a half. It's just a necessary part of construction.
Right.
There are some workarounds. I know we are in contact with some of the councilwomen in Reno. We are relooking at part of the design long term, but the fact is for the construction, that's going to be closed. There's no way around it in order to add the widening. And yeah, we have been, like I said, we have been looking at other redesigns on there, but it's still moving forward.
Good.
Next slide, the I-15 Central Corridor NEPA project. In partnership with FHWA, we've been working on improvements to I-15 over the past 3 decades to accommodate the growth in Las Vegas. So this section of I-15 between Tropicana and Sahara is the last section to be upgraded adjacent to the resort corridor, the Las Vegas Strip. Feasibility study was conducted in 2019 to identify alternatives for safety, traffic operation, right-of-way needs, and we've now moved into the environmental phase. We held an in-person meeting on January 31st. The virtual public meeting will run through this Thursday to February 16th, and you can also learn more or make comments at www.i15central.com. Any questions on this project? Okay, next project. The US 50 Tahoe East Shore Corridor Management Plan is out for public review. The virtual meeting, February 12th continues on through March 14th, 2024. The in-person meeting will be held February 27th. You will note that we made sure it was on the slide. The lane reductions are not recommended as part of the study.
Can we make that bigger?
It's a bigger font.
I made sure it was on the screen and it wasn't just in the talking points. So we published, like I said, we published the draft and it is out for public input. And I'm sure there'll be more follow-up on that.
Can you give us the highlight what that is? The management plan?
Sandra, can you give us the highlight on that? I know she called in, but Deputy Director Sandra Rosenberg, she did call in.
Sandra, are you on the line? Can you provide those highlights at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I just don't know the specifics.
No, that's all right.
Hey, next one. Next slide. The Flamingo Road Safety Management Plan. And that's a study of Flamingo Road, also known as State Route 592 from Paradise Road to Pecos Road. And this was due to a high number of fatal and serious injury crashes that have occurred in the recent years. It's a major east-west thoroughfare here in central Clark County, which feeds the Las Vegas Resort Corridor, UNLV, and other key stakeholders. This one is going to incorporate corridor studies, access management, intersection and road capacity, traffic crash data, and highway safety manual methods. So we don't have the results of it, but it is ongoing. We are now in the third, if you look on the top, the public meeting phase. And these findings after this, the public outreach will include neighborhood meetings, pop-up meetings, virtual and in-person public meetings. Certain virtual meeting for this study began January 22nd and will run through February 22nd. The address is on the screen, although it does seem like an odd one, tinyurl.com. Doesn't seem intuitive, but it's on the screen. In-person public meeting is February 13th tomorrow from 4 to 7 at the Cambridge Recreational Center at 3930 Cambridge near Flamingo and the Maryland Parkway. So the study is ongoing. There are no recommendations as of yet. It's taking the public input, and then we'll be back later with the recommendations.
Member Valentine, for the record, I'm sorry if I missed it. What are the limits of this project, east and west?
It is from Pecos Road to Paradise.
Paradise.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Governor Lombardo, for the record, development of alternatives. That's been completed.
No, this is a process to determine the alternative.
No, I'm looking at your Gantt chart up there at the top, development of alternatives. Was there a consideration for the county to adopt this road?
They have a portion of the roadway. I will use the negotiations between the county and the state have been like a trade-off. Like
Right.
we take over portions of 215 and they take over different portions of highways around the area. So they've taken over parts of Charleston, parts of Sahara. I do not know specifically what stage of conversation they've had over this particular piece.
We have anything to trade?
Well, they want us to take over more of the 215. So gradually.
Oh, okay. All right.
The intent is ultimately for us to end up going around to about where Summerlin comes in. So the end of where the 215 is. Right now, we are just past where I-15 comes down. As you see there, Clark County is finishing a large project to the west side of I-15. When that's complete, NDOT will take over that portion. So we're kind of moving along. Generally, when we do swap roads or trade roads, it is bringing it up to a certain level of service prior to the trading off.
Okay. Yeah, the reason why I bring that up, because if you look at your pedestrian fatality data, that's a very high corridor right there. And maybe the county would be better served coming up with alternatives versus us, because you already mentioned the speed at the state. And so I think that needs to be part of the conversation.
And they are definitely one of the stakeholders, so they are at the table. The next slide, please. Good. Talk a little bit about the critical hires, and this is during the winter months. So I know at the last Board of Examiner meeting, Governor, we hired you approved 9 highway maintenance worker positions actually coming back from retirement to help train, to one, be the plow drivers for this year and also help train the new ones that came on. So your executive order where we can advance them coming up there has resulted in getting close between 30 and 40 hires around the state. So it was 17 here in District 1, 18 in District 2, and I'm getting the numbers from District 3. But that has been, however, now we need the seasoned one to train them so they can get their CDLs. So some of them have come on with, about half of them come on with CDLs, but anyway, that was a really good deal. Thank you.
He wants to do it.
I love driving this.
We are also looking at partnering. You connected us with Hopes for Prisoners. And also we do training. We use federal funds to train through our civil rights program. Again, CDL drivers, hopefully that they can come to work for us, but if not, regardless, that it improves the workforce development for the area.
Were we contracting with a third party for the CDL training?
Yes.
We are.
I know that's not directly, we don't have enough people to spare to do that. And when we bring them on, if they have their CDL, it's mainly getting them accustomed to the various pieces of equipment. If they're coming on without it, we have to spend the time with each of them. We use our seasoned help basically to literally sit in the cab with them until they get up to speed.
Sounds good.
But also the other thing I wanted to mention here is that we are reaching out for our public service interns. We have 70 positions we use statewide. We usually do this in January, and this is for college students. We do target primarily UNLV and UNR, but also community colleges. If you have a student who's going out of state to a college, if they're coming back for the summer, we're happy to hire them. We hire them basically for the summer months. And we do ask for 70. This one actually pays fairly competitively. So it's one I really want to hire. But so if you know any students, it's primarily engineering students, but we also hire accountants. We hire environmental people, business. Basically, all we need is a resume and their contact information, and we can go from there. I did this at the RTC board the other day, and they made the announcement that anyone working for RTC could not come over and work for us. This next slide, this is an answer a little bit to a question by member Cobb. On our vacancy rates, I know there's concern about how much outsourcing we're doing, but on the statewide, we have 1,951 positions, and we're at about a 20.7% vacancy rate. I will say that I want to say that's trending in the right direction. We were at 26% when I started, so points at headquarters, we have just under 800 positions with a 16% vacancy. At District 1, we have a 17% vacancy. District 2, we have the Reno area, we have a 29% vacancy. District 3, we have about a 20% vacancy. Then we have another 54 positions, but those are new positions that are just in the process of being filled, some seasonal help and student workers, so they're not included in the others. We are breaking the information down so we can bring that back next month where we're looking at it regionally. We have a lot more trouble with engineers and project managements in the District 1 area. District 2, we're not too bad on the engineering part, but the maintenance workers are, like I said, at 30%. The biggest area of vacancy is in the maintenance area. And then in the rural areas, we're competing against mining, and the majority of our workforce out there is maintenance. So we'll get a little bit more, like I said, down on the weeds on that there. As you pointed out, we are spending almost 3 times as much on outsourcing as we used to. It is, we normally would spend about 40 million a year. We're getting close to 120 million. And generally, and while it's not apples to apples, it's typically, if we did it in-house, like a construction crew in-house, would be about 1.5 million a year. When you outsource it, you're usually looking between 3 to 4.5. This is construction augmentation to oversee the construction projects on it for our part. So that's one where and like I said, it's not apples to apples because we have some like overhead that's already in place that we would pay for on the outsourcing.
Director, thank you. This is Member Calb. Thank you for putting that together. I look forward to talking to you next month as we get more information.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be happy to update you in between. Next slide.
Before we move off of that.
Oh, say, I'm sorry.
Do you want
Can you back up?
Better define with what level of position is vacant?
I believe that's what you said that you were going to do. The level of.
I wanted to go down and get like more regional, then more into what was specifically maintenance engineers.
Right.
And on there, like I said, engineers generally tend to be a little bit more successful in District 2 because it's right next to UNR. I mean, it's like right next to it. We do use some down here at UNLV, but we have a lot more trouble with construction and engineers in the south part. For instance, we have 7 resident engineer positions in Southern Nevada. 5 of them are empty and vacant. So they have been run by the assistant resident engineer pretty much for the past year and a half, couple of years. We have a assistant district engineer in Tonopah. We have not been able to fill for almost 3 years now. And we're concerned about some other vacancies.
Is the vacancy directly related to salary, or is there other contributing factors?
Salary is part of it if you're coming in, but we're also looking at because like all of these have to have your license, your engineering license.
Sure.
So not everyone with an engineering license wants to move to Tonopah. I can't understand why. It actually is a nice place. And so
they don't even have teachers going to Tonopah. They've had to close the school. No teachers.
And are we not able to use existing engineers here in order to subsidize those markets? They have to be there.
We are actually, that's what we are doing now. So the assistant district engineer, who we have 2 down here currently in Vegas, and we've kind of split it between the south half of Vegas and then the north half, but the north half has more of the rural areas.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the next slide. I recognize we did tell you this in the briefings, but in December, we appointed 2 new deputy directors, Sandra Rosenberg, who replaced Darren Tedford, and Mario Gomez, who has replaced Jeff LaRue. So they started in mid-December.
Mario with the glamour shot. You don't have your orange hat on.
That's right.
I know it's almost gonna be incognito on the website when we get it there. And then next slide, please. We also wanted to say we just recently promoted Bhupinder Sandhu as the new District 2 engineer. He has been the acting District 2 engineer for the past couple of months, so he's still doing 2 jobs, but we're paying him a little bit better now. And then the last slide. This is just kind of showing where we are in the front office. We've had a lot of turnover. So I mentioned that both Sandra and Mario have been promoted, so we are now basically looking to fill their positions, which is the District 1 position down there and also the Assistant Director of Planning. And then we also have vacant is the Assistant Director of Operations. And the Communication Director is vacant right now. And then also we have a 50% vacancy in our administrative support. So my executive assistant is doing an awesome job, but she's covering 3 jobs right now. So we're all doing our own scheduling, which means we're kind of hit and miss now and again. Anyway, but it's slowly being filled and we're building a great team. All right, that is the last slide. Any other questions?
So on that last slide and those vacancies, under Lombardo for the record, what are we doing to fix it?
Actually, right now
Is
we're
it
in
an
the,
advertising issue? Is it?
No,
I always know it's a pay at the state level, but
it's more right now of the timing part. So we did the last slide, please. Thank you. So we are scheduled the interviews for the information person, so that should be in the next couple of weeks. We have done the first round of interviews for the Assistant Director of Operations. We'll be doing a second round. So that should probably be done in the next month. And then the one for planning that just went out a few weeks ago, so we don't have a list of applicants yet. And then the District 1, I think we've just written up the advertisement, so that'll be going out. Do you have a list yet?
we do have a list.
They do have a list, so they'll be doing
good.
interviews for that. Again, probably I would say in 2 months we should have them all filled, but we should have the majority of them filled in the middle to the end of next month.
Okay.
That completes my report.
Do we have any questions of any board members of Ms. Larkin? Andy, Frank, Gary, no questions?
No questions, thank you.
All right, we'll close the director's report and move on to agenda item number 5, consideration of approval of December 11th, 2023 Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors meeting minutes for possible action. I'll entertain a motion for approval, or if there's any questions or concerns.
Stavros Anthony, move for approval of the minutes.
Andy
I have
Matthews,
a-
second.
We have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any against, nay? Motion passes. And we'll move on now to section 2, consent agenda for items number 6 through number 10. Do we have any questions, or any board members on any of the items on the consent agenda?
Stavros Anthony, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 6 through 10.
All right. Do we have a second?
This is Gary Correa, I'll second that.
Thank you, Gary. So we have a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any against, nay? Hearing none, motion passes. That's the end of the consent agenda. We'll move to section 3, items taken separately from consent agenda. There are none. Subsequently, we'll close section 3, move to 4 additional business items. Item number 11, Brightline West High-Speed Train Project Presentation. This is the informational only item, Ms. Larkin.
And Governor, I'd like to introduce Sarah Watterson as the president of Brightline West. And then on our side, Ryan Wheeler, who is a project manager. They'll be doing a dual presentation, but we'll start off there.
Hi, Sarah.
Is this okay?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Okay. You're leaving. No, you were leaving. Sorry. Sorry.
Just ignore me.
Yeah. I'll go over the important stuff right now. I've met most of you, but for those of you I haven't met, Sarah Watterson, I'm the president of Brightline West. I'm joined with my Brightline West team members today of Adrian Scher on our engineering team, Asha Jones and Irene Scarlatos on our communications and governance team, and then our project partner, Billy Wellman, too, who just happens to be here probably, but is always here, so thankful. I thought I would just first start, I haven't presented to an NDOT board meeting yet. So again, while a lot of the project is public and in the domain, I wanted to start from the beginning. I wanted to talk about the story of how we got here, and then ultimately end with Ryan and I, and any questions you have, talking about kind of where we're going, especially through our partnership together. And NDOT and the entire state of Nevada, when I moved here, I think 4.5 years ago, been like incredibly supportive of everything we're doing. And we feel an immense responsibility to give back in terms of what we're bringing and what we've said we're going to bring. So we can start with the first slide, real high level. So why do we believe that high-speed rail is warranted, and why do we believe that America deserves high-speed rail? We as a country have invested in, as we're kind of seeing now, heavily into federal highway with 160,000 federal miles of highway. We have 5,000 public airports. We have an immense amount of infrastructure here, but it's still not enough. And we're still seeing that if you look at ourselves compared to any other, modern country, we're way under represented in terms of high-speed rail, where we have none ultimately. If you look at a country like China, in 2008, they built their first mile of high-speed rail. They now have 27,000 miles of high-speed rail and a 2 million person workforce solely working on high-speed rail. And so, our goal really is there is opportunity for high-speed rail in America, and Brightline was actually formed to do it. So go to the next slide. Slow. So Brightline as a company was formed in 2012. We actually owned a freight corridor in Florida, all up and down the Florida's East Coast. And we looked at this too long to drive, too short to fly phenomenon that we saw happening, where there were cities like Paris to London or Milan to Rome that were easily and effectively connected by high-speed rail, typically that 200 to 250 mile type segment. And it was easily the preferred mode of travel for all of these different places. And so with our freight corridor in Florida, we actually looked to take the excess right-of-way that was adjacent to that freight corridor, which Adrian was heavily involved in building that part of the project out, and use that excess right-of-way to build our first phase from Miami to Palm Beach for passenger rail. And then this September, we actually extended all the way to Orlando and opened all the way to Orlando after 235 miles after almost 10 years of development, or a little over 10 years of development. That train is 235 miles, hitting about 125 mile speeds. And so not true high speed, but definitely more efficient than driving in an area that's heavily trafficked, not safe, has a lot of rural areas, and you're seeing a lot of similarities here. And so as we finished the first phase of that project, we were looking around the map of the United States, and it was so obvious that there's so many other city pairs that are too long to drive and too short to fly. And to me, you can go to the next slide, the most obvious one.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Why only 125? Just
Yeah.
number of stops?
It's a number of grade crossings, actually. So we have the brilliant thing, which I'll show you in a little bit, is here where we're building, we have no at-grade crossings. So there's, it is hundreds of at-grade crossings with signalized crossings. And so when you're going through those, you can only go at certain miles per hour. And then actually in terms of, where we're building to, it was the most effective upgrade for where we were going into passenger rail there. We did everything we could to make it fast, green, efficient. And the most important thing I think that happened in Florida, and excited for anyone to come see it, is it's the modern experience, which I'll talk about in a little bit too. But really, what we started in Florida, we're getting the 2.0 of out in Brightline West, and I'll go into all those things. But I thought maybe it would be helpful just to see a video starting on this slide.
Brightline West, America's first true high-speed train that's ushering in a new era of modern travel. From the lights of Las Vegas to the beaches of Southern California.
This isn't the video, I promise.
Most iconic destinations in just 2 hours by soaring at 200 miles per hour. Brightline Zero Emission all-electric trains will be the greenest form of transportation in the world and will be made right here in the USA with American labor. From beautiful stations with bright lounges and premium amenities to an exceptional onboard experience with all the extras, Brightline West will offer a convenient and comfortable way to work, relax, and play. Welcome to the ride reimagined. Welcome to Brightline West.
But you get that those are all real pictures of our real facilities, our modern stations, everything that we've built in Florida. Those are all real images interspersed with what we have here now for Brightline West. And so just a high level overview of what we're building, since it has changed over a number of years, but we are building about a 220 mile system from Las Vegas to Rancho Cucamonga. It will have a high-speed rail station stop in Victor Valley in the middle, and then a smaller stop that will be used for certain trains in Hesperia, also in the Victor Valley. And so what we've done is actually in partnering with NDOT and Caltrans and Bureau of Land Management and other partners, our right-of-way is almost entirely in the median of the I-15. And so using what was, primarily excess land, we're taking over and building a barrier-protected corridor. And so to your point, Governor, that's how we can travel at about 200 miles an hour, up to 200 miles an hour here. Especially in those areas that are long and straight, you're able to hit fast speeds as if you were in any of those systems in Europe or Asia. The other interesting thing of the way we're doing that is we're not on viaduct. We're not built up off the ground in most areas. We're able to do that on the ground because of how this topography is built out. The thing I would say we learned from Florida also is typically these systems take a really long time, as you guys have seen, to get built out. And one of the hardest things is where do you build and what is the land use? And I think we learned in Florida is we did a partnership with FDOT and the freight rail line as really existing transportation corridors are the way that I think if we're able to build rail in America the way we see we can, we're going to use excess transportation corridors to be able to do that. For us, the big thing is when we got here about 4.5 years ago, the train was going to Victor Valley, and it was a phenomenal train. It worked, but it made even more sense to obviously get over the Cajon Pass and into the logical kind of feeding and connection point for where everyone was coming to be. And so Rancho Cucamonga, the brilliance, for us of picking that station, I think, and why we loved it so much is every single person that is driving to and from this market from California has to pass our station. We are exactly 0.8 miles off of the I-15. And so you cannot drive to Las Vegas without passing us in some form or fashion. The other thing that we really liked, which I'll show you in a couple slides of this connection exactly, is the Rancho Cucamonga stop that we have is at the Metrolink station. And so we sit basically adjacent to or on top of it, effectively, the Metrolink station. And so that gets directly in, and the service is going to be even faster over time, directly in downtown Union Station and multiple other stops along that corridor. And so you can be connected anywhere in Southern California to our train by a rail connection only. I would say the other thing worth noting is our trains that we're building, they're not brand new trains. We're bringing over trains that have done tens of billions of miles from Europe predominantly and bringing them over here and making Americanized changes is what I would say to make the trains used here. And so we're bringing existing proven technology and that
we're using used trains.
No, the technology itself. We're building brand new trains, but we're bringing that's fair point.
The train has a billion.
No, we're bringing trains that have been proven. We're not building a new type of technology. So we're bringing existing trains here that are proven technology and building them new in America, actually. You can go to the next slide, and I'll gloss over this one, but just so that the numbers are fresh. In our studies that we've done, there's about 50 million trips that'll be made between greater Southern California and our market. These are one-way trips. And so each year, that's our market that we have to work with. And it is the biggest market. If you look at any, train market in the US, it's our biggest train market. Of those about 50 million trips, 85% of them are made by car. And so, our real goal is get folks out of what you're seeing in the middle with the highly congested kind of travel corridor that, despite all the best efforts that are made between NDOT and Caltrans, traffic builds up. We saw it unfortunately just today for everyone who was enjoying the wonderful Super Bowl. And so if we can do that and offer them a faster, more enjoyable, more reliable, predictable alternative, that is what Brightline West, piece within the overall transportation kind of matrix that Vegas has to offer becomes. Ultimately, when you look at the time, it's faster than car every time, almost twice as fast as car every time. But when you look at air in terms of getting through security, waiting, God forbid you have any delays that aren't even built into that, it ends up being just as quick as most air trips as well. Slide. So this is one of the first questions I always get asked. I'm gonna say you asked the two governors, like, are you building in one spot? And like do you start in what, right? That's what everyone asks it. And so I thought it would be worthwhile, and I have the experts here, but go through a little bit of how we designed how to build this project based off of what was successful in Florida. And in Florida, we delivered an on-time, on-budget project in terms of both phases that we delivered in Florida and built this exactly the same. And so, as you can see, again, we've been working with Billy and Las Vegas Paving on a Nevada portion of the civil. And so the way we break things up is subdivide packages, scope, geography. So all the civil highway work will be done by civil folks and split across four project packages between here and California geographically. And then on top of that gets layered the track and the systems providers. And then ultimately the trains get melded into that and there's testing. We, with Brightline and led by our team, we put alongside all the puzzle pieces. We're working with Southern Cal Edison and Nevada Energy on power. And so the power substations that will actually power our trains and our stations and vehicle maintenance facilities are being built with our oversight. And then we layer those in and then we run the trains. We're in finalizing stages of a procurement between two train manufacturers now. And we'll start at the end testing, commissioning with our signaling systems communication provider, our track supplier, and our rolling stock provider at the end of the system. All of that gets tested and commissioned by ourselves with their oversight. What we found in Florida is by being able to do this, we're able to learn a lot from our providers, I'd say from the beginning and working alongside them, and then enter into the kind of these fixed price, fixed time contracts, taking an element of risk away for all of us with the intelligence that we have. And then it lets us finance the project much more efficiently and also move through construction much more efficiently. Here, a layer on top of this, because as we'll get to as part of this, we're working with federal grant money as well, is we try, and in Florida, we didn't have any federal money, and we tried to maximize domestic sourcing. We had, I think, 126 suppliers throughout America of all of our train materials for rolling stock without even having to be by America. We did that and built up the manufacturing supply here in America. We're doing the same thing here. And so about 95% of what we're doing is going to be domestically sourced and built here in America. Next slide, please. So our stations, and what you saw in the kind of video clips that you were able to see, is where Brightline Florida really focused is we hired hospitality professionals. We hired engineers to do all the engineering things, but then really to make the train the experience that it needed to be, we hired hospitality professionals, folks that worked at Disney or entertainment areas, or really understood, how to change the preconception of what transit means in America, what a commuter train looks like to most of us, or what a commuter station means to most of us. I grew up in the Northeast, and like my view of a commuter station is like ceiling tiles falling down, and it was things that you don't want to have to spend 2 hours on something where you don't think the infrastructure is going to be worthy of your time or predictable enough. And so we really, really focused in Florida on a holistic experience from the moment you leave your door to come to our station, from the moment you get to your, final destination, what we can do in the middle. And so our stations are clean, they're modern. We have free Wi-Fi on our trains, and it's good Wi-Fi, food and beverage all the way through. And so both in the station and on the train, multiple food and beverage experiences, avenues to put your baggage, whether it's golf clubs, a stroller, a suitcase, whatever it might be. We have different areas throughout the train to take those from you and to deliver them, which is ultimately, I think, going to be quite important here. The other thing that we've done in Florida, which you can see on the bottom right-hand side, is coming out of kind of COVID, we were able to take some time and build up our own fleet of ride sharing services that we ultimately now partner with an Uber, where we have branded vehicles. And so we can actually control how you're getting to our station and how you're getting from our station. And so if maybe this is in Miami, if you only live, 2 miles away from our station, you're taking an e-bike or an e-scooter. But if you, have a group of friends, or if you want to mix, you can take one of our Sprinter vans or our, mission-free Teslas or circuit cars in different areas. And that's been, I would say, especially amongst, a younger traveler, incredibly used. But we were booking about 25% of all rides were using some form of this last mile, if you will, travel. And it's definitely something that we're looking to work with the resorts here in terms of, making sure that our pickup drop-off area, which I'll show you in Vegas, is we've designed a train with a massive pickup drop-off area to make sure that that's the most efficient part of the entire experience. These are our two designs, and I'll go into both of those stations a little more detail, but you can see they don't look like your typical, train station. The one on the left is Las Vegas station, and the picture on the bottom is, the aerial of what it will look like from just the station part of the site. And then in Rancho Cucamonga on the right-hand side, you can see that connection with the Metrolink in terms of what that picture is here. And I'll hit on each of those a little more detail on this slide here. Okay, so this is our Rancho Cucamonga station. You could see, and I talked about the station outreach in terms of what we're able to reach, and working with both the resorts and looking at the overall population demographics of people in the area. This station actually gives us more reach than if we were to put a station in downtown Los Angeles. We're able to pick up a greater percentage of riders in the reach of this station than if we were to even move Greater West and put our own station and tracks in that area. The massive benefits of this station are really the connectivity on this middle picture. I'm sorry, it's a little bit small, but you can see those trains on the bottom. Those are Metrolink trains. Our train station is built integrated into this. And we've seen this in Florida. Our Miami station sits with Tri-Rail, Metrolink, which are two kind of regional train services, a Metro Mover, which is effectively a subway in downtown Miami. And those services are all built into our trains. And their usage as they went up, especially the Metro Mover, all went up as soon as they built it into our trains. And so we've seen that if you can connect, rail by rail travel, it creates more usage on that system, especially on the weekends where Metrolink doesn't have a lot of rides, and we can actually, coordinate directly with them. So go to the next slide, please. So going to the Vegas station. For those of you that don't know where a Vegas station is, we sit between Warm Springs, Blue Diamond, I-15, and Las Vegas Boulevard, basically just south of where the I-15-215 interchange is. And so this, again, when we came into the market, there were a few different locations that were talked about for a station. We ended up purchasing about 110 acres for this station, of which about 20 will be used for the station itself, and the rest ultimately will have a plan over time. The big one for us here is the in and out of this location was the most accessible to us and the most visible off of I-15. And so, as I kind of mentioned, we've created our entire station to be a pickup drop-off facility to make sure that there is every type of travel that you would want coming kind of from the station at our area and going to all the major resorts. The big thing here too is our trains will hold up to like 900 people per train. And so you're talking each hour on the hour, you can get 900 people in, 900 people out. And so having it service as this larger kind of park and ride is incredibly important for handling that number of traffic. Any questions on the station? I guess I'll just ask. No.
We have a bunch of questions. We're waiting for you to finish.
Good. Okay, that's first. So I'll hit on the benefits and then I'll take questions before you go, Ryan, and that way we're kind of splitting it up. But so just to kind of put everything in one place, I think 2023 was a pretty important year for us, and thanks in part to a lot of the help that, in partnership that I would say we all had together. We were able to finalize all of our permits in 2023, which was the culmination of a 19-year process that was started in 2005. We were able to sign the last larger right-of-way contracts for the alignments and our partnerships with BLM. All of these major milestones that really came into play because of these partnerships that will allow us to deliver all these benefits together. And I think it was for that we've been able to, I think, see a lot of support from a lot of sides. We're going to put 10,000 jobs to work. We've signed PLAs or signed agreements to sign PLAs with the building trades in both states. We've signed agreements with 13 unions to be operating our rail and maintenance areas under union support. Our trains itself, as I mentioned, they're emission free. We take 3 million cars off the road, 16,000 short haul flights not flown. And over 75 highway related deaths per year are expected to not happen anymore. Thank God. Even if it was one, I'd be okay with that. But 75 are expected not to happen anymore because of folks coming onto the train. This also, which I think is incredible, kind of after seeing last night and everything that's happened over the past few months in Vegas and Nevada, this, like Nevada, not just Brightline, will be the blueprint for how to build high-speed rail in America. And I think that is where it's not just, a Brightline thing, it's really everyone that gets involved. And that's a huge benefit because, we're not done here. We've been very clear that we see other city pairs and we're excited to connect and attach to America by rail. So I can answer, do you want me to answer the Brightline related questions and then we'll jump into the NDOT Brightline partnership?
Any board members have any questions for Ms. Watterson?
I have a few, but what are you going to go over the funding?
Yeah, we can
for all
wait till
this?
the end, however you would like to run it. We can go through the funding and then we can ask questions at the end if you want.
So my question's in regards to you said that each train holds approximately 900 passengers. Does it have the ability to scale up if demand requires?
Yeah, so our train car consists hold 450. We're able to couple those together to 900. We're starting by running trains every hour in each direction. And so we're capable of doing over 11 million trips per year. We're capable of much more than that. Over time, and which is actually interesting, the Federal Railroad Administration already released a corridor ID program, which we're going to start to apply for, that'll allow us to build additional tracks in the I-15 as demand, is created over time. And so we're not even with the shovel in the ground on the first project and thinking about how to handle demand for the second project. So we're all over it.
Thank you.
Hold
Governor,
on,
I had
sir. No, don't step away.
Not leaving.
Governor, I had a couple of questions.
Go ahead, Andy.
Andy Matthews for the record. Thank you very much for the presentation. Very, very informative. I'm curious to know a little bit more about the Florida experience. And I was wondering if you had any data on the impact to, road congestion there, road safety, travel times, et cetera.
Sure. So what's great is we just again opened the full 235 miles in September, but we've been operating the lower part of that from Palm Beach to Miami since 2018. And so we have a ton of data, I would say, on kind of that representative area, which is, the most congested area today. First of all, for that area alone, we were seeing adoption of basically run rate of like 2 million rides on the train. And so those are directly cars that come off I-95, which like thinking about I-15 being bad, I-95 is much worse. It is heavily trafficked. It's the deadliest highway in America in most recent years. But more importantly, I think than that is actually kind of the local roads around the stations in terms of it's a different area where you won't catch as many comparables to here, but it's a urban dense area that became more pedestrian friendly in the sense that development and transit oriented development real estate was built around each of our stations. And that made it a more walking friendly pedestrian area for a lot of the folks who wanted to come to the train. In Miami, which is I think the best instance of what a transit-oriented development, area could look like. There was the first full-service grocery store in that area ever built. It was a 36,000 square foot Publix that was ever built, ever in that type of an area. It was typically an underserved area. Because of the train coming, there was a $6 billion development called Miami World Center, which started maybe the year after we started building the train and is still going on now. And is opened in like Apple Store and, apartments and office buildings. And so just in terms of kind of creating a new ecosystem around the train, that's what we've seen happen kind of over these first 12 years in Florida in the more what I'll call commuter part of the system.
Thank you. Yeah, if there's any statistical data that you're able to maybe share with us, email or sending it over somehow, be interested to see that. So thank you.
I would say also, and I don't know if this has been up or not, but I would welcome anyone to come and do a tour of Florida. I think like seeing is believing when it comes to this, and especially since it's such a large project for the state of Nevada to get the 2.0. If it ever was feasible, we'd welcome that and go through all this and more there.
Thank you. And one other question, the travel time via Metrolink from Rancho Cucamonga to Los Angeles, about what is that? I'm trying to get a sense of what the total travel time Vegas to LA would be.
Today it's about an hour. We're trying to get it down to 45 minutes. And so including the connection, it'll be about 3 hours from LA to Vegas and 2 hours from Rancho to Vegas.
All right. Thank you very much.
So Andy, just for information and also for any other board members, we are coordinating a trip to Florida. We're trying to work out the details on that now with Ms. Larkin. And so obviously all the board members will be invited.
Great. Thank you.
Sarah, can I ask you a question before you sit down? Reference, I don't know, Billy, maybe you can weigh in on it. Reference to PLAs, are the contractors going to be separated via California and Nevada, or are they going to be able to work across the border?
California building trades, Nevada building trades working together so that we can cross contract across the border.
So it would be cheaper in supply chain, right?
They're working through what happens. There's only certain contracts that actually cross state lines. So they're working through what happens on those contracts that talks across state lines so that everyone can work under one umbrella.
Good.
Thank you, Sarah. If we could go to, all right, we already did. My name is Ryan Wheeler with Senior Project Manager for the Nevada Department of Transportation. I'll take and talk about NDOT's role over the next 5 slides and how we've been partnering with Brightline West since 2019. Maybe a little bit before I do that, I just wanted to let you know a little bit of my background. I'm a native Southern Nevadan. I'm kind of a homegrown engineer. As I went to school, I was also building bridges here in the Las Vegas Valley. I actually worked on the construction of the Hoover Dam Bypass Bridge. I operated an engineering office for 6 years, and I've been working for NDOT as a project manager for the last 9 years, and I've managed billions of dollars of projects for the state of Nevada. Let's go to the next slide, please. This slide represents a long history for Nevadans that have heard about some version of a train between California and Las Vegas. It also represents some significant progress that started in 2005. As Sarah said, that's when the permitting started for the environmental work from Victor Valley to Las Vegas, and that was completed in 2015. And in 2019, when Brightline West came and purchased Desert Express, the speed began to become high-speed train. And things have been just moving forward at a quicker pace and since Brightline West has come to town. And it's kind of fun when you see articles in the newspaper and people's comments about the train. A lot of people roll their eyes because we've heard about maglev and all sorts of different train systems or Amtrak's come between Las Vegas and Southern California. A lot of people still roll their eyes. But I can attest that Brightline West is here to build this train and to make it happen. If we can go to the next slide, please. The partnership and collaboration between NDOT and Brightline West has been exceptional. I've been very impressed with the leadership from Sarah Watterson and Adrian Scher, my counterpart. In early conversations, I said, hey, let's be open and honest and transparent about issues. And they have done that. And through that process, we built a mutual respect and trust and integrity between NDOT and Brightline West, and the partnership has been fantastic. A healthy partnership also entails executing agreements between parties, and NDOT to date and Brightline West have entered into several agreements and memorandums of understandings to help the project move forward. This partnership between NDOT and Brightline West has strategically planned both modes of transportation within the I-15 corridor. And so obviously today we just have the freeway. We'll now have high-speed rail, and we've worked very collaboratively so that NDOT can be successful in maintaining the freeway and allowing the delivery of people and transportation of goods. And now we're going to have a rail corridor in the middle of the freeway. And we've worked collaboratively together to make sure that both can exist. And also, as our freeway expands in the future, there won't be any conflict. And so we've handled that through our design and construction agreements and in our planning documents. I'd also say that in 2015, the state of Nevada established the Nevada High-Speed Rail Authority, and they selected who would be developing high-speed rail for us between Victor Valley and Las Vegas. They selected Desert Express, and Brightline West has purchased Desert Express in 2019. NDOT, Brightline West, and Caltrans have entered into an MOU to collaborate project needs, and NDOT has met with Caltrans professionals on a monthly basis to ensure that our interstate design standards and agreements entered into with Brightline West are similar. Next slide, please. Brightline West is a $12 billion construction project that will be predominantly funded with private funds. In partnership, Brightline West and NDOT applied for a Federal Railroad Administration grant. And as you're aware, on December 8th, NDOT was awarded this $3 billion through the Federal State Partnership Program. We had our President of the United States here in Las Vegas to announce that award, and that happened shortly before the December board meeting. NDOT will work collaboratively with Brightline West to administer the grant. Next slide, please. NDOT has worked with Brightline West to create a team of experts to oversee the project delivery. Brightline West maintains financial responsibility for the project. NDOT will monitor all of our highway design and construction through our own staff and third-party consultants. NDOT will be utilizing an independent engineer to oversee project progress across the state line that will help us to do the reporting for the Federal Railroad Administration as it pertains to grant administration. According to this organizational chart, you can see that NDOT's primary role is grant administration and project oversight as it pertains to the grant requirements. NDOT will utilize the services of the independent engineer to assist with this within California. Please note that this is not an NDOT project. The state of Nevada is not contributing state budget towards this project, and NDOT is being reimbursed for our staff time and our consultants' time spent toward this project. And just so you know that we've had a reimbursement agreement in place since 2019, and so our time allocated to date has been paid by Brightline West. Brightline West is the project developer. They own and are in charge of the planning, environmental design, construction, operation, and maintenance of the private intercity passenger rail system. They're in charge of all the hiring of contractors, designers, and all aspects to complete the project. They will manage the project scope, schedule, and budgets, and they'll ensure the interstate work is performed according to NDOT standards and, of course, in California standards. Next slide, please. In early 2019, NDOT assembled, amongst our own amazing professional engineers, a team. We also procured a consultant team with high-speed rail experience and expertise to assist NDOT. The consultant team is CA Group with sub-consultants of HDR and Avenue Consultants. Through this assembled team, we have members that used to work at FRA to assist us with grant administration. We also utilize experts from our Nevada Attorney General's office to assist us with the agreements that we've entered into. We have an open procurement for construction crew augmentation to assist NDOT as Broadline West readjust some of our highway infrastructure to put in the rail within the median of the freeway. I am very proud of the excellent professionals that comprise the NDOT team. They have gone above and beyond in protecting the state of Nevada and are diligent in moving this project forward. Through their diligent efforts, it's an attestament to them, as Sarah said, that we've been such a great partner with Broadline West and their goals to build this project. Many other partnerships and collaborations have been formed while working on the project. Lots of discussions with U.S. Federal Railroad Administration, obviously FHWA. We've made new connections with Caltrans and their professional staff to make sure that we're both talking and collaborating with Broadline West in a similar manner and also protecting our interests in a similar manner. We've met with several Nevada emergency responders, including the Clark County Fire Department, Nevada Highway Patrol, and the Nevada Traffic Incident Management Team. We've actually reached out to Florida at FDOT to see how they interacted with Broadline West and agreements entered into, and to capture what lessons learned we can and communicating with them. And then we've had several partnerships with Clark County, the Department of Aviation. As we know, the Southern Nevada Supplemental Airport is going to be down by Prim and Jean, so we've been talking to them. The Public Works Department, Clark County Commissioners, and RTC Southern Nevada. We can go to next slide, please. I think that's the end of my comments and presentation, and Sarah and I can field any questions that you have at this time.
Thanks, Governor. Again, Stavros Anthony, Lieutenant Governor. So, first of all, thanks for the presentation. That clears up a lot, because I get asked all the time about what Brightline is, what's going to happen, how's it look. So this will help me answer a lot of those questions. And can we get a copy of that slide? So it's a $12 billion project. $3 billion is a federal grant. So Brightline is putting up the other $9 billion.
Yeah.
And it'll take 4 years to build it, starting from today.
You could do this now. See,
Okay.
you got the
All right. Good. No, that's so. You said the train will run every hour. So I don't understand what that looks like.
Yeah.
There's one track with
So,
a million trains going back. How does that work?
No, it's very perfect. So, again, 2 flagship stations, multiple stations in the middle. At our stations, we have at least 2 tracks. And so there's passing sidings there. And then there's multiple miles of passing sidings, as we call them, double track areas, for lack of a better word, throughout the system. And so commonly happens in other train systems where, as you know, all automated, but as one train is approaching, there's then a 10-mile passing track. And so the trains are on the passing track and effectively use double siding. And so at each train meet, something like that would happen. And so it only, again, we're running one train every hour in each direction. So there'll be multiple trains on the tracks, but it's common and normal to do that.
And it's safe. And
yeah.
Is there a guy in a building somewhere doing that, or is that all?
No, even better. It's automated. It's automated.
It's all automated.
Yeah, it's automated.
Okay.
There's a lot. We're using a
job.
Oh.
I was gonna say, like, we're using a European switch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wear your yellow vest.
I just want to understand how this is going to work.
Yeah, we're using a European train signaling system that, again, we're bringing over that match the trains. It's used for my point of saying that the trains have traveled 10 billion miles is this is something that goes on, as we just heard last week. China High Speed Rail over the new year had 400 million trips traveled on their system. So this is stuff that happens all over. We're just doing it for the first time here.
So if I want to use this, I can drive my car to the Warm Springs, leave it there,
Yeah.
jump on the train, go to Rancho Cucamonga. I could run in a car there and drive someplace.
You could rent a
You could
car.
do
You
that.
could use Brightline Plus. let's imagine, like we do in Florida now is you'll have effectively a Disney shuttle, if you're going to Anaheim, or, we'll collect points, and the same way we'll work with folks here and we work with RTC and others. We'll work with the local transportation commissions there and make sure that we have ways for you to go wherever you're going. The cool thing I would say about a train, and this is even compared to like an airport, because we only have kind of one train coming in every hour, and let's say we have 450 to 900 passengers on the train, we know where they're going. We know if you're coming from, Newport and going to an MGM hotel, we can actually plan your entire trip from your house in Newport to where you're going to get dinner that night at your MGM hotel. And so that's the trip continuity is a lot different because we only have so many people coming in every hour.
Okay. And are you going to have like a first class and second class and sitting with the chickens kind of?
So that's the beauty.
Like
So I would say,
days?
yeah, you saw in the video, like that is Brightline's like standard class seat. We call it a smart seat, but it's a standard class seat. We are going to have premium. We're going to have premium cars within the train. We're going to have baggage areas within the train. Each area, whether you're in the smart or the premium select class, you'll have food and beverage options, and so it will never feel like you're in chickens in the coop in the back.
Okay.
I can promise that one.
No, this is great. I mean, I hope this is the first of many. I'd like to see one from here to Reno.
You're not the first person to ask that either. So
you can go right to the terminal, park, get there a minute before the train leaves, and just hop on board and go. Right?
Yeah, 1 minute you'll be cutting it a little close. So
Okay.
I won't promise. I won't overpromise.
You don't have to get there 2 hours.
minutes.
Or
Yeah.
It's like the JS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like yeah.
Right. Okay. This is good. Thank you.
If you're right, for the record, Governor, I heard you mention the RTC. So here in Southern Nevada, the NTA has authority over your end of line taxi service.
Yep.
So are we working with both of
We are.
entities?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working with a multitude of different services. Well, yeah.
And then Ryan, on the high speed rail authority, is that still an active authority? Do you know?
It is. Oh, we report to them twice a year. We do biannual reports for them from Brightline. We just sent our most recent one in January.
I know it's when.
Oh, sorry.
That's why I'm asking.
I don't know for a fact that they convene every quarter in a public meeting, but we report to them on a biannual basis.
So it didn't get disbanded upon the Express West acquisition.
No.
Okay. I'll follow up on that.
Typically, Governor, for boards, they'll stay active, the person's on it until basically you remove them.
Oh, so it's a.
I was on the engineering board for a while, and when my term was up, I still acted on the board until a replacement was found.
Right. Yeah, I'm familiar with all the board happenings, but this is not one that's come across my desk.
Yeah, we can,
I know I can pull it up. It's really easy to pull up. Yeah.
A lot of folks have been in it for a while, as it seems, and we talk to them. We talk to the board members on a certain basis.
Okay.
I also wanted to add, Tracy Larkin, Director, is that NDOT has been meeting regularly with FRA on a regular basis just to continually ensure that we're meeting all their requirements. We also went to the interim finance committee this month to ask for a non-executive budget so that we can process our reviews and payments, more efficiently. So, and we have continued, talking with FRA. They like the idea of us continually going back. Basically, we tell them what we've done, and they will tell us in return, like, we'd like to hear a little bit more here, a little bit more there, just to ensure that we're staying to do what we actually really need to do. And put it, as we said, it is a fairly new, dealing with rail is new for our agency, but with the great partners, we're moving along, and we feel very confident that we've got the right parameters in place.
And do we have a projected date of groundbreaking?
Spring is what we're working towards. We're in the middle of the larger part of the financing right now. I'm working towards the spring.
Sir, this is Member Cow. What does security look like going in and out of the train stations? Is it?
That's why I said 10 minutes, not 1 minute. We are, as far as I know, the only train in the country that actually has our own version of set up a security protocol going in and out. And so we actually do have machines that you put your bag into. You go through kind of your own version of a metal detector. All of it is very touchless, is what I would say. And we're constantly we're working like a stadium would to use kind of the in and out of the stadium as quickly as you can. Don't hold up the process, but make sure that if we're not allowing guns, you're not allowed to have a gun. If you're not allowed to have a bag certain size, you're not allowed to have the bag. And even in the back of house, that'll be the same procedure for bags as well.
We do.
Thank you.
coordinate Homeland Security and TSA as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello, this is Board Member Lepre. Ryan, great presentation. Is there any liability from the grant for NDOT?
You don't know?
I'll answer.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's the way that everything is structured is NDOT and Brightline. Brightline is the project partner of NDOT. And so in terms of, it's hard to say there's no liability. If for some reason there's funds that are purposely misplaced or things of that nature, that would obviously be what we're working to make sure now that NDOT is set up with proper waterfalls in terms of reimbursement. What is important, I think, to say is the project costs, the project development, the project financing, all of the monetary and personnel responsibilities of the project are Brightline's.
Okay, and Sarah, nice presentation also. Is your Florida operation in the positive on a balance sheet?
Oh, Florida. I think you said former. I was like,
No, Florida.
Yes. As I mentioned, we're just, we opened up in September, the long haul, the 235-mile portion. And so we're moving in that direction now and really, really excited with where ridership has kind of come this winter.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll add to that. This is Ryan Wheeler again. Just to add to Sarah's comments, we've entered into several agreements and have done the best that we can to limit our risk and ensure that our role and responsibility is clear and that Brightline West's role and responsibility is clear. As we've been awarded the $3 billion, we're working through a grant agreement with FRA, and we're trying to make sure that those roles and responsibilities continue to be clear in that grant agreement and in all of our agreements to limit our risk, to answer your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Maria?
Thank you. We're happy to, obviously, as the project's ramping up too, we're happy to do this more frequently.
This is Gary Maria.
I learned a lot before, so I'm like.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Ryan. If there's no more questions, we will close agenda item number 11. Move to agenda item number 12, executive session. I understand there is no items with this item, so we will subsequently close item 12 and move to item 13, second opportunity for public comment. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And do we have any public comment there in Carson City?
No, sir, we don't.
Any public comment here in Las Vegas? Seeing none, we will close second opportunity for public comment and move for adjournment. For possible action, I'll say make motion for adjournment. I need a second.
Motion second.
We have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Stay. You better not be. And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.